One of the services we offer here at Redefined Horizons to our clients is flood hazard management. And when you hear that, you may think, what does land surveying have to do with floods, and why is Landon helping people figure out how to manage flood hazards? So it's a good question. I'm going to explain a little bit about that. I just want to let you know right here at the beginning of the video, that, our YouTube channel is mainly about education. We don't do a lot of direct selling on our YouTube channel. I don't want to irritate people. In this video, I am going to tell you a little bit about our flood hazard management services here at Redefined Horizons. So you're not going to hurt my feelings if you change the channel, go to a different video, turn me off, whatever, that's okay. But if you are an organization in Central California or Western Nevada and you've got some flood hazard issues that you're trying to solve, this video will give you an idea of what type of services we offer and why you might want to hire us. So when I talk about flood hazard management, what is it? What do I mean? Well, it's basically the ability to identify and understand flood risk. In my part of California, Central California, we have major issues with flood risk. So the whole Central Valley is very flood prone. We do work in the Bay Area where we've got coastal flooding and issues with coastal flood zones. I was just working with a client last week that bought a commercial building in the Bay Area, and part of the building's in the flood zone, and they're having major problems getting their building permits approved. So it is a big deal. So we help you identify and understand flood risk, and then we can also help you, once you bought a piece of property, we can help you meet the regulatory requirements if you want to go to construction or develop land inside of a floodplain or next to a floodplain. There's certain things you have to do by law to meet the federal floodplain regulations. So we can help you figure out those regulations and help you meet the requirements. So what specific type of flood hazard management services do we offer? I'm not going to give you a comprehensive list, but I'll run down a few of the things that we do the most frequently. So we prepare FEMA elevation certificates. That's a document that proves to the floodplain regulator that your building is out of the floodplain. We do FEMA, what they call LOMRs and LOMAs. Those are documents you file with FEMA to remove a property or a structure from a floodplain. We also do what we call local agency elevation certificates or letters. So that's a local agency requirement to show that your building or your property is outside of a floodplain. We can help you analyze flood hazards. So we can review the flood insurance rate study. We can look at the flood insurance rate map. I've got some other videos that talk about those maps aren't perfect. They have mistakes. We can help you sort that stuff out, get the map corrected with FEMA if we need to do that. We also work with engineers to provide surveys for floodplain mapping. So when FEMA is going to come in and revise a flood map, or if you are trying to correct a flood map and you need to do a flood study, we can help you with the surveys for that. We can help your engineer get that done. We can help you find an engineer to do that if you need one. Let's see. We can also do kind of specialized flood hazard analysis. We've worked on custom flood fight maps. So if you want to go, beyond just what FEMA requires, we can also help you understand to a deeper level what your actual flood risk is, not just what the government tells you it is, and we can work with you to help mitigate that flood risk. So why would you hire us? Why would you hire Redefined Horizons if you've got potential flood problems with your real estate or your real estate transaction? Why would you come and hire us? Why hire Landon Blake for that and my team? One of the most important reasons is we've got a long history of dealing with flood hazards. So I kind of grew up as a land surveyor in the San Joaquin Sacramento Delta, where flooding is an ever-present danger. And I've got a lot of experience working with FEMA and working with California Department of Water Resources, working with the floodplain managers at local agencies, counties, and cities. I've got a lot of experience with working on levees and levee networks, and experience pulling property out of flood zones with the LOMR process. So there's over 20 years I have over 20 years of experience working with flood issues in the Central Valley. Now there are a few other surveyors like me in the Central Valley, but I think I have kind of a unique experience with flood hazard management just because of the type of work I did early in my career. I've actually been out on a flood fight. I've actually been out during floods surveying floodwaters. So I have a unique perspective on flood hazards. I think a fairly unique perspective. I think we have a deep understanding of the regulations. So a lot of surveyors, can fill out an elevation certificate, but they don't really understand the National Flood Insurance Program the way it works, what local agencies are trying to accomplish with their floodplain regulation. That's something that we spend a lot of time trying to learn about and study and understand so that we can work with you and the local agency and FEMA to get your project built. So we are not superficial floodplain surveyors. We had a recent example of a client that hired a civil engineering company. They did a LOMA to pull a building out of the floodplain. The LOMA got denied, big delay in the project, and the basic reason is the civil engineer didn't know what they were doing, right? I knew as soon as I saw the LOMA why it didn't get approved. So we try and have that deeper understanding of the regulations and of the whole National Flood Insurance Program. I think to be a good flood hazard management surveyor in Central California, you got to know a couple things. You got to know geodesy, geodetic surveying, because we got a lot of datum issues. And so I think, our team has a good understanding of that. That's one of the things we do really well, geodetic surveying. You also have to understand a little bit about GIS, because GIS is a tool now that FEMA is using and local agencies are using to assemble floodplain and flood hazard information. And if you don't understand kind of the limitations and pitfalls of GIS, then you might inadvertently not realize that real estate has been mistakenly put into a flood zone. So we have that. And again, I talk about this in a lot of our videos. We're a type of land surveyor that works with you to solve problems, right? So a lot of surveyors will come to you and say, hey, here's your problem, and then they walk away. So for example, they might come to you and say, I got bad news. Did the elevation certificate, your building's in the floodplain, it's under the base flood elevation. Okay, we don't do that. Well, we might tell you that, but then we'll say, hey, here's some options. Here's some potential solutions. Here's what you might be able to do to get your building or part of your property out of the floodplain. And we understand, what those things might cost and what the timeline is. And when you're involved in real estate, those kinds of things can be really important. So I think we're a good fit. Certainly if you're in Central California and you've got a real estate transaction that you're involved in, or you're dealing with real estate that is in or near a flood zone, we can help you figure that stuff out. We'll do a good job. We've got expertise that is not common in flood hazard management. So reach out to us, and we look forward to hearing you and being able to help you figure out some of this flood stuff that you got to deal with when you're trying to build or develop land in Central California.